Marcus wiped his calloused hands on his uniform, the echo of his mop bucket wheels still ringing in the empty corporate hallway. At 2 a.m., the gleaming headquarters of Meridian Industries belonged to him alone, just him, the shadows, and the weight of tomorrow's worries pressing against his chest like a stone. His daughter Emma's medical bills crumpled in his back pocket served as a constant reminder that love sometimes isn't enough when the world demands payment in full. The fluorescent lights hummed their lonely song as Marcus pushed through another night, another dollar earned toward Emma's mounting hospital expenses. Leukemia didn't care that he was already working 3 jobs. It didn't care that his 8-year-old daughter still believed her daddy could fix anything with a smile and a bedtime story. But Marcus cared. And that caring had carved lines into his face that made him look older than his 32 years. "Excuse me," a voice startled him from his thoughts. Marcus turned to find Victoria Meridian herself standing in the doorway of her corner office, still in her business suit despite the ungodly hour. The CEO's reputation preceded her, a brilliant, ruthless, and utterly untouchable. Her dark hair was pulled back in a perfect chignon that probably cost more than Marcus made in a month. "Mom, I'm sorry if I disturbed you. I can come back later," Marcus said, gripping his mop handle tighter. Victoria studied him with sharp green eyes. "Actually, I need to ask you something unusual." "What's your name?" "Marcus Rodriguez, Mom." "Marcus, I have a proposition that might sound crazy, but I'm desperate." Victoria's composure cracked slightly, revealing something vulnerable beneath. "My board of directors is pressuring me to settle down, to appear more stable. There's a crucial merger on the line, and they think a family man would be more trustworthy to our international partners." Marcus blinked, unsure where this was heading. "I need someone to pose as my fiancé tilde copyright for 3 weeks. Just for appearances at a few business dinners and social events. I'll pay you $50,000. The number hit Marcus like a physical blow. $50,000 would cover Emma's treatments, her medications, maybe even the surgery Dr. Patterson had mentioned. But the request felt surreal, like something from a movie rather than his real life. "Why me?" he managed to ask. Victoria's mask slipped further. "Because you're kind. I've watched you work these past months. You stay late to help the night security guard with his crossword puzzles. You leave encouraging notes for the cleaning crew on the upper floors. You're genuine. And that's what I need right now, someone real." Marcus thought of Emma asleep in their tiny apartment, her bald head covered by the princess cap she insisted on wearing even to bed. "I have a daughter," he said quietly. "I know. I'd expect her to be part of this arrangement. A ready-made family would be even more convincing." 3 days later, Marcus found himself in a department store dressing room, trying on suits that cost more than his monthly rent. Victoria had insisted on a complete makeover, but she'd been surprisingly considerate about his comfort level. The tailored charcoal suit made him look like someone he didn't recognize, a confident, successful, worthy of standing beside a woman like Victoria Meridian. Emma bounced on the store's plush seating area, her eyes wide with wonder. The shopping trip was the most excitement she'd had in months, and seeing her genuine joy made the charade feel less like deception and more like a gift. "Daddy, you look like a prince," Emma giggled, clapping her hands. Victoria knelt down to Emma's level, and Marcus watched something shift in the CEO's expression. "What do you think, Emma? Should we get your daddy this blue tie or the silver one?" "The blue one matches your eyes, Miss Victoria," Emma said solemnly. "Daddy says when people match, it means they care about each other." Victoria's hand trembled slightly as she adjusted the blue tie around Marcus's neck. Their eyes met in the mirror, and for a moment, the pretense felt dangerously real. The first business dinner was a minefield of small talk and strategic conversations. Marcus felt out of his depth among the executives and their spouses, but Victoria never left his side. She introduced him as her fiancé copyright with such conviction that he almost believed it himself. When someone asked about his work, Victoria smoothly explained that he was transitioning between ventures, a kind way of protecting his dignity without outright lying. But it was Emma who unknowingly became the star of every event. Her innocent questions about business deals, her sweet observations about the fancy food, and her obvious adoration for both Marcus and Victoria melted even the coldest corporate hearts. The board members who had initially seemed skeptical began nodding approvingly at Victoria's choices. "She's going to make an excellent stepmother," one board member's wife whispered to Marcus during a charity gala. "Emma clearly adores her." Marcus watched Victoria across the room, crouched down listening intently to something Emma was saying, and his chest tightened with an emotion he couldn't name. This wasn't supposed to be real. This was business, a transaction to save his daughter's life. But the way Victoria looked at Emma, the way she remembered that Emma liked her sandwiches cut diagonally and her bedtime stories to include dragons, felt like something much more dangerous than pretense. The turning point came during the third week, at what was supposed to be their final public appearance together. The merger papers were signed, the board was satisfied, and Marcus's payment was already deposited in his account. All they had to do was get through one last dinner, and they could all return to their real lives. But Emma had other plans. She'd been quieter than usual that evening, picking at her child-sized portion of salmon and stealing glances between Marcus and Victoria. When the dessert course arrived, a towering chocolate souffle copyright that Emma would normally devour, she instead stood up on her chair. "Excuse me," she said in her clear, 8-year-old voice, somehow commanding the attention of the entire restaurant. "I have something important to say." Marcus reached for her, panic rising in his chest. "Emma, sweetheart, sit down." But Emma shook her head, her princess cap slightly askew. "Miss Victoria, I know you and Daddy are pretending." The words dropped into the restaurant like stones into still water. Victoria's face went white, and Marcus felt his world tilting off its axis. The other diners had stopped eating, leaning forward to catch every word. "Emma, please," Victoria started, but Emma wasn't finished. "I know you're pretending to love each other for work," Emma continued, her voice gaining strength. "But I also know something else." She turned to Victoria with the devastating honesty that only children possess. "You're not pretending to love me, and Daddy's not pretending to love you. I can tell because you both get the same sparkly look in your eyes that Daddy used to get when he looked at Mommy's picture." Tears began streaming down Emma's cheeks, but she pressed on. "I heard Daddy crying on the phone with Grandma about my doctor bills. And I heard you on the phone telling someone that you never thought you wanted a family until you met us. You both think you're protecting me by pretending, but you're actually hurting everyone by not admitting you love each other for real." The restaurant had gone completely silent. Victoria's carefully constructed composure finally crumbled entirely, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. Marcus felt his own eyes burning as Emma continued. "Daddy works so hard to take care of me, and Miss Victoria, you work so hard to take care of everyone at your big company. But who takes care of you? You both need someone to love you back, not just pretend to love you." Emma climbed down from her chair and walked over to Victoria, taking her hand. "I already picked out names for the babies we're going to have. And I want to call you Mom if that's okay, because even though my first mom is in heaven, I think she sent you to us because she knew Daddy needed help taking care of me, and I knew you needed a family to take care of you." Victoria broke completely then, pulling Emma into her arms and sobbing into her small shoulder. Marcus crossed to them both, wrapping his arms around his two girls, because that's what they were now, he realized. Not a business arrangement or a convenient fiction, but his family. "I love you both so much," Victoria whispered through her tears. "I was so scared to hope this could be real." "It is real," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "It's been real for weeks. I was just too afraid to believe someone like you could love someone like me." Emma pulled back to look at both of them seriously. "So we can stop pretending now?" Victoria laughed through her tears, the sound bright and genuine. "Yes, sweetheart, no more pretending." 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same corporate hallway where this all began, but now he wore a different uniform, a suit and tie, his new business cards reading Director of Facilities and Community Outreach. Victoria had created the position specifically for him, recognizing that his understanding of every level of the company made him invaluable in ways that had nothing to do with pretense. Emma's latest scan had come back clear. The treatments Victoria's insurance had covered were working. But more than that, Emma was thriving with a mother who challenged her intellectually and a father who adored them both. The real merger, they all agreed, hadn't been between companies at all. It had been between three hearts that had found their way home to each other through the simple, revolutionary act of seeing past surfaces to the love that had been waiting underneath all along. And in the end, that was worth far more than any amount of money or business deal. It was worth everything.